If you're like most leaders, you've tried to master the technique of multitasking, not realizing that the very concept of doing multiple things at the same level at the same time is a complete and total myth. In fact, multitasking is what's keeping you mediocre in your leadership. Welcome to the Ware Show, a podcast for leaders who want more and won't settle for less. Straight talk to help you lead better, live bolder, and not lose yourself in the process. If you're serious about going to the next level in life and leadership, you're in the right place. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Ware Show, where we are passionate about going to the next level in life and in leadership. And if you're watching or listening today, my hope is that you get something that's going to help you do that, help you go to the next level, help you grow, help you move forward and advance. You know, in this podcast, we talk about things that are related to life and leadership at all kinds of different altitudes. I like the metaphor of altitude when it comes to leadership because it gives us a picture, an understanding for where we are and how we need to be viewing things. You know, the picture that you have of what's going on and what needs to be done when you're at 35,000 feet is really different than it is when you're on the ground, right? I mean, what a pilot sees and what an air traffic controller sees from the tower are two very different things. And it's not all or nothing. Your view at ground level versus your view at 1,000 feet above the deck versus 10,000 feet or 20,000 feet or 35,000 feet, they're all different and they're all important. They all matter. And you as a leader have to know, where is my altitude right now? Where's my altitude personally? Where am I at in my mindset, my field of vision? Where's my altitude positionally? What does my role in the organization call for me to focus on and to put effort into? What's the altitude of the project that I'm working on? Where does this fit in the big scheme of things? How does this affect everyone else? Where's the altitude of this person I'm talking to, that I'm meeting with, that I'm working with right now? Do I need to get them to come up a little and see a bigger picture? Do I actually need to get them to go down a little bit and get their head out of the clouds? Knowing your altitude can make all the difference in how you lead people and projects and organizations. And I say all of that to set the context for this episode because sometimes on this podcast, we talk about things that are honestly kind of high altitude ideas, right? We talk about mindsets and philosophies and ways of thinking about leadership that happen at a very high level, sometimes almost intangible or ethereal in some ways. A few episodes ago, we talked about stress, and we used this concept of eklusis, the Greek word that symbolizes an unstrung bow that doesn't have enough stress or enough tension to really do anything or produce anything worthwhile. And on the other side, we have the idea of string follow, where a bow can be misshapen, can be deformed by being under too much stress for too long. Okay, that's an example of some high altitude conversation, right? This is mindset stuff. This is philosophy. This is a way of seeing life and leadership that honestly you've got to put a little bit of mental energy into. You've got to put some focus into it to grasp and wrap your mind around it. By the way, that was episode 5. If you missed it, it was a really good one. Other times, though, we talk on this podcast about things that really are practical, tactical, things that we can put our hands on right away, sort of the boots on the ground, go out and put it into practice right now stuff, the pro tips, the hacks, whatever you want to call it. And today's episode is probably something more like that. Something that I see in so many leaders, so common, so prevalent, but also deceptively damaging, and that is multitasking. Multitasking. I think most leaders feel like they're doing their best to keep up, but they're simply juggling too many balls, they're spinning too many plates, they've got too many irons in the fire, and they're just trying to stay on top of it all. And they go through most of their days feeling scattered and distracted and half-focused, half-engaged, constantly interrupted by texts and emails and Slack messages and calls and team members who walk into their office. And so what happens is they have activity, but they don't always have accomplishment. They have effort, but not execution. There's a lot of frenetic energy, but there's not a lot of forward movement. They're trying to do multiple things at the same level at the same time. They're multitasking, or so they believe, but they don't realize that entire concept of multitasking is a myth. Modern neuroscience has proven that multitasking is a myth. Your brain's executive function and decision-making centers can only deal with one focus-intensive task at a time. So multitasking isn't even real. It actually isn't happening. If you believe you're multitasking, you are lying to yourself. Your brain cannot multitask. All it can do is task switch, which means rather than doing one thing well, you're doing a bunch of things poorly. So if you are a leader who is trying to multitask, you are mastering your own mediocrity. That's why it's so deceptive. That's why it's so damaging, because you think you're getting a lot done and really you're getting nothing done. Or at least nothing done well, nothing done accurately, nothing done that's really worthwhile. You can read all the studies out there about this. People who try to multitask have more errors in their work. They're not nearly as accurate. They don't pay attention to the details. Stuff gets missed or skipped over. They have more stress and cognitive strain. And the reason why is because the brain is being asked to switch back and forth all the time, fragmenting their working memory. Think about it like an old computer that's got too many programs running and it's eating up all the RAM, right? So you get the spinning beach ball or the blue screen of death or whatever. One study from the American Psychological Association found that the attempt to multitask can actually cost you 40% of your productivity. And if you don't believe the science on that, let me just give you one simple experiment that you can do and see for yourself. Try going grocery shopping while you're on an important phone call. I promise you'll be wandering the aisles, double backing to something that you missed across the store. It'll take you twice as long to get your list checked off and your basket filled up. Don't ask me how I know. But seriously, it's laughable that as leaders, we still buy into this. I mean, seriously, aren't we smart enough to know better about this by now? And yet most leaders I know, and myself included, we still fall into this trap. We think we need to if we're going to stay on top of things. We think it's the only way to get it all done and keep everybody happy and keep all the balls in the air and the plates still spinning. This is something that I've been actively working on in my life and my leadership. Not perfected in any way, so I'm not preaching at you, but I am making progress, and that's what's important, right? We've got to make progress. There's a great podcast that I listen to called Leadership Lean In with Chad Veach. And this is one of his taglines. He says, we cannot promise perfection, but gosh darn it, we're going to make progress. And I love that because really that's what it's all about. Leadership is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's not just about the goal. It's about the growth. It's not just about the destination. It's about the journey to get there. The question in leadership is not have you arrived, it's are you taking the next right step? And I've not arrived in this area. I'm not anywhere close to perfected, but I am making progress. And, it's interesting because when you start working on something and you get serious about it, you get focused on it, you get locked in on it, all of a sudden you start to notice that thing a lot more in the world around you, right? In other people, in your surroundings, your environment. And as I try to break myself of the myth of multitasking, suddenly I see a lot of scattered and distracted and half engaged, half focused, half effective, and increasingly mediocre leaders everywhere. There's a scientific thing around that. I think it's called frequency illusion, where, when you get locked in on something, all of a sudden you notice it more, right? Like you buy a red car and all of a sudden you notice a lot of red cars on the road. There actually aren't any more red cars. It's just your brain is now paying attention to it more. You're locked in on it now. And so I don't think there are more multitasking, half effective leaders out there than there were before. I think I'm noticing it more because this is something that I am really dialed in on. Let me give you a few examples. I've been in client meetings where we're together to work on workflow strategy or organizational efficiency, and they're answering calls or talking to other team members in the office while I'm there trying to coach them, right? Not realizing that they're undermining the entire point of the meeting. This is the whole reason that we're here is to streamline, efficiency and workflow and all of that, and you're constantly interrupted while we're having the meeting about it. I've sat in executive team meetings where the CEO is just sitting there, punching away at his laptop while his department heads are giving him the updates that he asked for. That leader being totally oblivious, not just to the information itself, because there's no way that he's absorbing everything that they're saying or that's up on the screen or whatever, but he's also oblivious to the fact that his team feels devalued and demotivated and disrespected. I've got a friend who is a high capacity, high producing, very high octane business leader, but I can't sit down and have lunch with them without getting interrupted by 20 calls and texts that they feel like they just have to deal with right then, which makes me feel like, why am I even here, right? Like, clearly this conversation is not important to you. This is not a priority. Okay, let's get a little bit more personal, just outside of the workplace, more in your personal space. If you're honest, you probably are doing some of that with your partner, with your kids, with your friends, watching the show while they're trying to talk to you, answering a text while you're trying to put your kids to bed. Man, my kids got on to me the other night because while we have a no phones at the dinner table rule, I glanced at my watch when I got a notification the other night and they called me out on it. So I guess I'm gonna have to start taking my watch off at dinner too. But it's not just your interaction with others. It's how you sabotage yourself when you're by yourself. Checking social media when you should be prepping for that presentation. Stopping the deep work of writing or wrapping up that project every time that you get an email that comes through. Taking every phone call right when it comes in rather than putting your phone in airplane mode for a few hours and then setting aside time to check messages and return calls later. Task switching. You start writing an email and then you check stats on your marketing campaign and then you remember to call a team member to check on the assignment that you gave them, and then you see a notification from Instagram and then you get a text from another team member, and then 20 or 30 minutes goes by and then you finally pull up the email again that you have to refresh your memory on what you were even writing and what the context is, all because you think in the moment you're being productive. But here's the truth. And you may not like it, but I don't care. If I don't piss you off, then I'm probably not doing my job. Multitasking does not make you better, it makes you worse. Multitasking does not make you more productive, it makes you less powerful. Multitasking makes everything take twice as long, and the result is only half as good. Multitasking means your people feel disrespected, your work is not thoughtful or thorough, your attention is scattered, your focus is starved, you're addicted to the dopamine instead of the discipline. Multitasking means your life is busy, but your leadership is broken. And I promise you, this is hurting you more than you think it is. When you're distracted, you are not bringing your best self to your work or to your team. When you're unfocused, you are not making the best decisions that you're capable of, either in the moment or for the future. When you mistake busy for important, when you mistake activity for movement, when you chase the dopamine hit of checking likes on your social media post rather than the discipline of keeping your head down, keeping focused, keeping intentional to get that project done and shipped, when your ego is stroked because people call or text or email you all the time, because now you feel valued, you feel needed, and so you drop what's significant to chase what's shiny, when you can't have a meeting or a conversation without constantly checking your phone or laptop and you miss out on all the nuance, the body language, the nonverbal communication and tone and facial expression and attitude of the people who expect and deserve your full attention. I know I'm stepping on some toes right now. I know this is hitting close to home. I'm reading some of your mail. Like I heard an old minister say once, I don't preach to comfort the afflicted. I preach to afflict the comfortable. Okay, I feel like that's my job, right? To be a disruptor to your multitasking pattern, to wake you up, to light a fire under you that maybe it's time for something to change. Something's got to give. Something has to shift in your mindset in the way you're doing life and leadership. Because you know what you're doing is not working. You know it. You know it's hurting your productivity. You know it's hurting your people. You know it's hurting your sense of purpose when you go home at the end of the day or the end of the week and you're exhausted, but you have nothing to show for it. Multitasking is a major contributor to your mediocrity in leadership, and it's time to change it. Earlier this year, I read Cal Newport's book, Deep Work. Highly recommend it. In fact, it's on my shelf back there. It's the yellow one. We'll throw it on the screen for you. It revolutionized and also reaffirmed what I had always known to be true in my leadership, that deep work has a much greater impact than distracted work. My deep work can produce more for the world than my distracted work. And that seems obvious, but it's not how most of us live or lead. We tend to stay in the shallow zone, the distracted zone, almost all the time, rather than getting into that deep, focused zone where our natural abilities and our brain's highest functions can combine to create the greatest results for our lives and our leadership, the greatest contribution, the greatest impact we can make in the world. And the truth is, most leaders will be better served working fewer hours in the chaos and working more hours in the quiet. In fact, you'd be shocked at what you can do in just a few hours of quiet compared to a lot of hours in chaos, working more on the business than in it, to use the Michael Gerber phrase, to have a sniper approach rather than a shotgun approach. And I promised you today was going to be practical, tactical stuff. So here's 3 things that you can do to break this pattern, to change this environment, to start setting yourself free from the mediocrity of multitasking. Okay, super practical. Ready? Number 1, shut the door. Shut the door. Open door policies are stupid and short-sighted. How do you expect to make anything of significance happen in your leadership if you allow yourself to be interrupted by anyone who has anything to say at any time? Being accessible is overrated. Being available is overrated. Cancel your open door policy and shut your door. Number 2, shut off your phone. Your phone is probably the biggest cause for your multitasking, and multitasking is what's making you mediocre in everything you do. So shut off your phone. Put it in airplane mode. Put it in do not disturb. If you're always accessible and always available 24/7, 365 to anyone, anytime in the whole wide world, you aren't leading anything. I don't care what your title is. I don't care what your position is. I don't care what your paycheck is. If you can't shut off your phone, you're not leading, you're being led. Number 3, if you want to break through the mediocrity of multitasking, shut out the world. Shut out the world. You need personal time to shut the door and shut off your phone and maybe even shut out the world by getting out of town for deep thinking and deep work and long-term planning and all of that. But in this point specifically, I'm talking about your meetings with people. Shut out the world. Whatever happened to meetings where everyone in the room was actually in the room, fully present, fully engaged, body, mind, and soul? Like Dave Ramsey says, be where you is. You need more meetings with less technology. You don't need your laptop. You don't need your phone. You need a pen and a notepad, and you need eyes that can see and ears that can hear and hearts that can perceive and focus on the discussion and the decision at hand. You want to break free from the stranglehold that multitasking has on your life and leadership? Start right here. Shut the door, shut off your phone, shut out the world. Shut the door, shut off your phone, shut out the world. This is a call for you to stop believing the myth of multitasking and stop living in the mediocrity that it's caused. Your greatest contribution to the world will not be in 30-second increments. It'll be in devoting yourself to the deep, deliberate, and sometimes difficult work that only you can do because of your position in leadership and because of your purpose in life. Whew. I always feel like I have to kind of take a deep breath and kind of collect myself when I come to the ends of these episodes because I am so passionate about this stuff. I talk to you about these things that I have seen and I have lived and experienced in my own life and leadership and in coaching and consulting others, things that I believe really can make all the difference if we will learn them and live them. So I bring them to you with all the heart and the energy and the passion that I have. I hope you see it. I hope you hear it. I hope you feel it because I really do believe in what I'm telling you. I believe in what I'm talking about. Passion is one of my highest values. And so I bring passion. I'm all in on the things that I really do believe in. My whole focus is helping high-level leaders grow their businesses, their organizations, and get their life back. And to realize those are not mutually exclusive objectives. You can thrive in both personal and professional life. You can go to the next level. You can accomplish more than you even think you're capable of if you're willing to do the work. if you're willing to grow and to get better in your life, get better in your leadership. If you want to talk about what it would look like to work together doing that, I'd be honored to have that conversation and be part of your journey. You can find me, you can reach out to me at themattware.com and at themattware on all the social channels. And if this podcast is helpful for you, would you help me by rating it and reviewing it? That helps boost the exposure. And would you help somebody else by sharing it with them? I'm so thankful that you are here with me. And until next time, go lead better and live bolder.